Arcfieldweather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday morning, October the 7th. Quite an interesting weather pattern for the next several days, and indeed an interesting weather pattern going forward for the next few weeks that will include some impressive cold air shots from the central U.S. into the eastern states. Does appear as if there will be a strong western Atlantic low this weekend that looks very likely to impact the Carolinas. Whether or not it has an impact all the way up into the mid-Atlantic region remains to be seen. That is certainly on the table, but nothing is set in stone for the mid-Atlantic region, and we'll talk about some of the players involved for the upcoming weekend weather pattern. In the meantime, we have a strong cold frontal system that will slide through the mid-Atlantic region later tonight into the day on Wednesday with some beneficial rainfall. That same front then acts as a catalyst to help to intensify low pressure off the southeast U.S. coastline later this week into the upcoming weekend. Let's start off by looking at the latest satellite imagery loop using the GOES East satellite system. First of all, an area of a tropical system here over the western Caribbean. It looks like it will move across the Yucatan Peninsula region of Mexico and into the southwestern Gulf. Meanwhile, notice this kind of a mixed, a disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms over the southwestern Atlantic Ocean, kind of centered near the Bahamas. This is the area of interest that will kind of become rejuvenated later this week into the upcoming weekend as this frontal system right here, you can see the clouds associated with this frontal system, slowly slides to the south and east across the mid-Atlantic region by, let's say, midday on Wednesday, and then continues to slide. And once it reaches this area right here, that frontal boundary zone will really act as a catalyst for this to intensify into a consolidated western Atlantic low. And again, it looks like that western Atlantic low certainly will have an impact on the Carolinas with some heavy rainfall and strong winds, potentially northward into the mid-Atlantic region. Well, let's walk through last night's 0Z run of the GFS, and in some regards, this model is kind of an outlier for the upcoming weekend. It does have a pretty decent impact in the mid-Atlantic region, whereas the Canadian model, the European model, less so for that western Atlantic low this upcoming weekend. But nonetheless, let's use this model and go through some of the important players involved. First of all, we're starting off the day with high pressure ridging, higher heights than normal across the northeastern states, well above normal temperatures on Monday from D.C. to Baltimore to Philadelphia, New York City, Boston. Same thing today ahead of this approaching cold frontal system, but a much cooler second half of the week. Let's move forward here and we'll see that ridge disappears. The trough moves in the southeastern part of Canada on Wednesday. Again, this is when the cold front slides across the mid-Atlantic region off the east coast. And then we'll see this ridge starting to redevelop across the southern part of Canada into the southeastern part of Canada by Friday. And remember, this is always a key thing to look at this time of the year, is strong ridging in the upper part of the atmosphere across either the northeastern U.S. or the southeastern part of Canada for potential atmospheric conditions that will allow for tropical systems to move from east to west towards the southeast U.S. And indeed, we do have this ridge here over the upcoming weekend. This is Saturday, very strong back over the Hudson Bay region of Canada. You notice here we have this intensifying trough. And here is that system that right now is a disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms. Once that frontal boundary zone reaches the southwestern Atlantic, it will really enhance upward motion, act as a catalyst to help to intensify strong consolidated surface low pressure that will indeed impact the Carolinas with some heavy rainfall and some strong winds. A little less certain yet whether or not it will push northward and impact the mid-Atlantic coastline. Again, we have this strong ridge pattern. Has been this tropical season for these kind of systems here to cut away from the coast before impacting the mid-Atlantic region. We'll just have to wait and see how things play out here. Certainly there is the potential for some rain and wind up across the mid-Atlantic coastline, but it's not set in stone yet. Let's go out a little bit farther in time, and here this GFS, by the time we get to next Monday, very, very strong upper level ridge over eastern Canada and a strong trough hanging along the eastern seaboard. This is where that western Atlantic low is likely to be situated over the weekend and into the early part of next week. Now let's walk through the 850 millibar temperature anomaly pattern here. And again, we have a couple of impressive cold shots coming for the second half of October into the eastern states. First of all, we're starting off here with warmer than normal conditions both yesterday and today, well above normal temperatures in places like DC, Philadelphia, New York City, where today's highs should be 80, 82 degrees or so, several degrees above normal. But here comes that influx of colder than normal air across the Great Lakes by tomorrow and into the northeastern states by the time we get to Thursday. Again, a cold front will bring some beneficial rainfall to the mid-Atlantic, northeast U.S. Later tonight into the morning hours on Wednesday. By the time we get to Thursday evening, we could be setting up for the first possible frost in many of the suburban locations of the big cities, far north and west suburbs of D.C., for example. Certainly the northern and western suburbs of Philly and New York City can experience the first frost of the season late Thursday night as overnight lows drop into the 30s. Certainly interior sections of New Jersey included as well with that threat of the first possible frost late Thursday night. Then we go into the end of the week and into the upcoming weekend. A lot of this temperature pattern will depend on exactly where that western Atlantic low goes, but you can be sure there will be a stiff onshore flow of air into the Carolinas and potentially into the Mid-Atlantic region. Places like Delmarva Peninsula could have stiff east to northeast winds later this upcoming weekend associated with this western Atlantic low, which would keep temperatures on the cool side of normal throughout the weekend into the early part of next week. Now, let's kind of quickly move forward into the second half of October. This is the middle of next week, the middle of October. Go farther out in time. There's certainly been some consistent signals for impressive cold air shots. Here we go into the third week of October. This is a very impressive look to it. And it's been consistent in many of the models for this kind of a cold air outbreak during the second half of October. This is in the central part by about 2 weeks from right now. This is all the way out to October 21st here, so we're looking way ahead here, but I do believe this is a real signal in the models that we'll have a couple of impressive cold air outbreaks. This is the first one across the Great Lakes all the way down to the Gulf. 2 weeks out here, we're talking the third week of October, and on its heels, potentially another shot of colder than normal air from southwestern Canada into the central states. Now let's walk through the surface forecast maps, again using the 0Z run of the GFS. Again, the big players in disorganized area right now of showers and thunderstorms over the southwestern Atlantic, places like the Bahamas, and just to the east of those islands here experiencing these showers and thunderstorms right now. Here is that incoming cold front. Plays a big role in the western Atlantic low. We'll see that in a moment here. It slides slowly to the east, brings some beneficial rainfall to the northeast, to the mid-Atlantic region from later tonight into the morning hours on Wednesday. And here we go. That front then slides off the coast here by midday on Wednesday and heads towards the southwestern part of the Atlantic Ocean. Meanwhile, very strong high pressure builds into the northeastern states by Thursday night. This is the night where I do believe there will be a good chance of a first possible frost in many suburban locations along that I-95 corridor region. Late Thursday night, radiational cooling conditions will be quite superb here with probably clear skies and light winds and strong high pressure, Canadian-born high pressure sitting right on top of New England as of Thursday evening. And here comes that activation, the frontal boundary zone that crosses the mid-Atlantic region later tonight into the day on Wednesday, settles, stalls out over the southwestern Atlantic and enhances the convergence in this area. The end result here, we'll see by the end of the week going into the upcoming weekend, will be kind of a consolidated low pressure area. By the way, there is another tropical system that stays well away from the eastern seaboard here, but this is that western Atlantic low. And since it's kind of going to be caused by this frontal boundary zone, the National Hurricane Center may not call it a tropical system. It's a frontal induced type of low pressure. Doesn't quite qualify for tropical. We'll see if it ends up becoming a named tropical storm or not. Whether or not it becomes a named tropical storm, it will indeed have the same kind of effect on the Carolinas, namely some heavy rainfall and some strong winds out of the east to northeast. And then that system could move up and impact the mid-Atlantic region late this weekend into the early part of next week. This is not a given that it extends that far north, but it certainly is on the table. At this point in time, the GFS then starts to push it out to the north and east. Yet there will be an impact, according to this particular model run, all the way into the early part of next week. A couple of the other models are not quite this far north, so we'll continue to monitor this system closely here. But a little bit farther in time, this is all the way out a week from right now. Next Tuesday, the 14th of October, strong high pressure situated right where we look for it this time of the year, over northeastern U.S., southeastern Canada, and here is that western Atlantic low. Again, may or may not be dubbed a tropical storm at this time, but nonetheless, the effects could be the same all the way from the Carolinas into the Mid-Atlantic into the coastal part of New England with some heavy rainfall and some strong winds. Situation we'll monitor closely over the next several days. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.